Okay, I'm restarting this video, so I'm already a little bit, I already moisturized and stuff, but I realized it's kind of like, I was taking too long to get to the point. So I wanted to restart like the first like 5 minutes of this video. So, another YAP session with me. I'm gonna get straight into it because I want to keep this video as short as possible because yesterday was 53 minutes long. And it took forever to upload. So, I'm gonna try to keep this short and simple. And yeah. So, me and Andrew went to the same middle school, 6th grade through 8th grade. And we have kind of just come to terms with the fact that we were most likely in the same like friend group, like at some points, or like definitely hung around each other at some points and just like just don't remember, just because we like compare like friend groups and like who we hung out with at different points, and it just would add up that we at some point hung out together in like our 8th grade year specifically, and maybe even 7th grade. Okay, so fast forward to 9th grade, okay? We were in the same English class, okay? And I have like very like brief memories of him because like his camera was always on, my camera was never on, but like his camera was always on, and I remember just very much like I remember seeing him basically. And then towards like right before hybrid had started up again, we were like starting a project, and at the time my now ex Alex, but at the time we were just friends, he basically wanted us to work together, and he got me in a group. He got this girl who her code name from the last video, it's gonna stick, is Red. He got her, me, and Andrew, and of course himself, to all work in a group of 4. So it was me, like I said, me, Red, Andrew, and Alex, who all worked in a group. And I don't really remember much. I just remember Andrew was really quiet and he didn't talk. And it was all online, so, you know, it wasn't like it was in person. Well, then hybrid starts up, and Andrew is in hybrid, and we did not like each other. We hated each other, like, with a passion. But it was crazy how much we just, like, didn't like each other, and we just very much, like, just had no, like, interest in each other. We didn't, like, whatsoever. So, there's that. And, so yeah, like our freshman year was kind of like spent hating each other. And like the rest of the freshman year it was, because it was hybrid. And even during summer school, I did not like him whatsoever. Like we beefed, and it was like intense beef. And, yeah, and I even, he was there when I first smoked, or when I was first ever high off of, weed. And it was definitely an experience because I was being like such a cunt to him, but like in like a joking way. Like I thought it was funny because I was high, but he was just like sick and tired of it. We were both like assholes to each other. Like we just both did not fuck with each other whatsoever at all. But we stopped like talking at all during 10th grade. Like once summer school ended and 10th grade started, we just did not talk whatsoever. And for a little bit of context, we hated each other from like April 2021 up until like June of 2021. So we just didn't talk in 10th grade. Here, one sec. I dropped the camera, so just ignore that, because that did not happen. Anyways, so 10th grade starts, and I am going to heavily summarize 10th grade because I already made a video on my abusive ex, but I was in an abusive relationship mentally, physically, and sexually. And he was just not a good guy. But this guy, Alex, he was friends with Andrew as well. And I basically knew Andrew through Alex and stuff. And yeah, and so we had just like, but me and Andrew would sometimes talk. Like for example, I'd go to the bike path with Alex and Andrew and like a few of his friends and his brother as well, because I would just kind of like be there, and like I would just like, I was dating Alex, so I would just be there just to kind of like hang out until my mom got there. And when she'd get there, I would just, you know, I would talk to or not, while I was waiting for, I would like occasionally talk to Andrew, but it was really like casual conversations, like very casual. And one of the main like things I remember is that I had talked to him this one specific time because I remember that Alex did not like me going on walks with my brother because he thought I was gonna get like kidnapped or something, even though I live in like a really good neighborhood. I mean, like, I know that it can happen anywhere, but like it was just like such like a weird thing. Like, he'd get mad like when I'd go on walks and stuff, and he'd be like weird about it, and he would just like, and whenever I wouldn't respond, he would like freak out and like start spam texting me. So I remember I called Andrew, like we were debating about it in the morning. I was like, it's just not fair that like you're being like this, and he was like, okay, but it is. So I basically called Andrew over, and I was like, Andrew, come here, and I was like, let me get your opinion on this. And I describe it to him, and he's like, I don't see the problem with it. Like, Alex is a freak. And I was like, yeah. But obviously we were dating at the time, me and Alex, so, you know. Okay, so then April 2022 starts, okay? And specifically, like, on the day, so, okay, well, there was, like, this, like, time where I had basically walked Andrew to class, but we were just, like, we did not, like each other or, like, talk to each other at all. Like, we just, like, were still, like, very, like, cold and distant towards each other, but, like, we were more, like, tolerable with each other, and we just basically, like, talked, like, when I walked into class, and it was actually kind of fun. Like, I was like, oh, it's kind of fun. Like, Andrew's kind of not being a cunt anymore. I was too, though, but, you know, in the moment, I was like, oh, he's actually nice. Okay, the angle had to, like, drastically change for me to keep my camera not falling, because it has fallen 3 times, and I'm tweaking, okay? So, let's just get to the video. Ignore the double chin, because it will come out at this angle. Just pretend like I'm a skinny queen. It's fine. Anyways, so, continuing on. So, April 2022, like I mentioned, walked into class, we had a good, like, friendship, I guess. It was like a friendship, but it was, like, definitely, like, making amends type of thing. Like, I felt good, because I was like, okay, we're normal with each other, like, it's fine. So, then, and it was block schedule, so I was, like, alone when I was walking in, because Alex, my ex, we didn't have, like, the same schedule, like, that day. So, you know, yeah. But then, later in that week, April 12th, I believe, was the day that Andrew had came over to our, like, our spot, I guess. And, like, he came over to our spot that we, like, usually hung out at, and he hung out with us, with me, Elena, and Alex. So it was all 3 of us, and we were just hanging out. We were actually having a pretty good time. Like, it was pretty fun. I remember thinking, like, I felt really good about Andrew, so I was like, okay, like, we're good now. Like, we're fine now. Like, all the stuff that happened between us is all, like, in the past. Like, we're fine. Like, you know? So, I feel really good about it. And I kind of just want to, like, text him and, like, I guess, like, talk to him. Because I start to think, like, he's different. You know, I want to be friends with more of Alex's friends anyways. And I know that they're friends, so I might as well text him. So, later that day, I asked Alex, I'm like, hey, can you give me Andrew's Discord? Because I really just want to talk to him. He was like, yeah, sure, no question about it. So I get his Discord, and I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And we kind of just have a really good conversation. And we begin to just, like, open up to each other and essentially, like, just, like, tell each other stuff. And, like, he has started to, like, tell me about, like, his, like, family problems and his mental health problems. And he was, like, opening up to me about his depression and stuff like that. And I was like, oh. So I started opening up to him. I started telling him, like, yeah, you know, Alex, this and that. And he's like, oh. And I basically tell him, like, yeah, Alex has done this to me. And he was like, that's not okay. And I was like, what? And he's like, that's, like, not okay. Like, that's abuse. Like, I'm sorry you're going through that and blah, blah, blah. And he's kind of just, like, telling me, like, I want to help you out of this situation. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I mean, damn. And that is kind of, like, when I realized, like, I'm in an abusive relationship. And it's not as easy as it sounds. Oh. Sorry, ignore that. It's not as easy as it sounds to just, like, get up and leave. Because when you're in that situation, you're not thinking, like, oh yeah, I need to just like leave this person instantly. There's like a lot of like thought that goes into it. And so basically, like I said, you know, he basically just kind of like determined to like help me out of it. And so yeah, and I also at the time had an addiction to drugs, and he also helped me through that a lot. And I remember like Alex just had no clue how to handle it, which it wasn't like, oh, like I don't really know how to help, but like I'm here for you. It was like, no, I'm going to get mad at you for doing drugs. And so he would get mad at me for doing drugs, and he basically was like he would go off like over text, and he was just pretty much like telling me like what is your problem, like why are you doing this, like, you know, blah blah blah. And I even like asked him like would you be okay if I like substituted weed for that, because like that would kind of help. And he was like, no drugs. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of have to take a baby step. Like it's not like I could just, you know, wake up and be cured for my addiction. So yeah, but he didn't understand that. I had to literally compare it to his like candy addiction, because he was like addicted to candy and like eating candy, and I had to compare it to that to get it to make sense to him. Like I was like, well, you know how you're like addicted to eating candy, and like how whenever you have candy you can't stop eating it? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, it's like that. And he was like, oh. But he still would get mad about it. Like it didn't even matter that I explained it to him. He just would still get upset about it. Well, okay. So then this is where another kind of, I guess, storyline, if you will, in my life starts to come into play. And I didn't find this information out till later, but I'm going to talk about it now because it'll make sense in the storyline. So simultaneously, okay, Andrew's a group of friends, okay, and they played a game. And I know that if I say the game, they'll know exactly who they are, but they're going to know who they are anyways if they watch this video. So if you are watching this, yes, this is about you guys. And it was his D&D group that he would play with outside of, because there was a D&D club, but he would play with them outside of D&D club. Like that was like his like morning group and his lunch group. They would play at lunch and in the mornings basically. So, you know, we basically, right, so his friends consisted of a few people that are going to be important. There is, I'm going to like think of code names that I haven't used. I'm going to go with fruits. Apple is going to be one of them. And we're going to do grape is going to be the other one. And then apricot is going to be one, okay? So apple is a guy, okay? And this guy, so like from what Andrew told me, that friend group had all basically had like a lunch time, and like Andrew was like texting on his phone, and they're like, who are you texting? And he's like, and he basically kind of like spills the beans, if you will, and it's like, yeah, Kai, this and that, she's in an abusive relationship, and I'm basically helping her out of it. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're just kind of like, okay, cool, well, like, do you guys like have feelings for each other? And he was like, well, kinda, yeah, because we did. And they were like, oh, okay, wow. And they were kind of like, oh my goodness. And then he kind of like tells them like very brief information, like she has a boyfriend, but this boyfriend's very abusive, she's trying to leave him, and I'm helping her leave him, and we sort of just caught feelings in the middle of that. And they were like, oh, okay, you know, blah blah blah, like whatever. And they just don't really have much of a reaction. They're just like, oh, okay. Well, let's talk about apricot. Wait. Yeah, apricot, okay? I feel like I should change that, because I feel like apple and apricot are too similar. Let's do banana, okay? Banana. There's this girl, Banana. And this girl is, like, loved. Like, seriously, I don't think I've ever met a person who dislikes her. Well, okay, that's a lie. I met a few people who dislike this girl. But it's because she's very, like, I don't know. She's just very overly nice. And it doesn't feel real. Like some of the things she does, it's like, there's no way that you don't want to like snap at that person at all. Like there's no way. So, but like, you know, I appreciate it, you know, because I appreciate a girl who's nice. If she was fake nice to me, I would love her, but she wasn't. And I'll get into that. But it was very obvious that Banana had a crush on Andrew, and it was very obvious. And Andrew had a crush on Banana. And it was very, very obvious, like extremely obvious. Like they would flirt over text, and they definitely were kind of like slowly working towards potentially dating, but they did not know that they liked each other. Like they did not know. But you kind of tell, like, you know. But once Andrew met me, which I did not know that any of this was going on, or else I would not have pursued Andrew, or like even thought about pursuing Andrew if I knew like, oh, him and this girl are potentially gonna date. 'Cause I'm a girl's girl. I'm a girl's girl to the day I die, and I will never try and like take someone's man, you know, because I'm not about that game. Sorry, there was a knock. All right, and it was from my brother. And if you're watching this, F you for interrupting my video. And I know you're watching this because you watch my videos. So, so basically Banana, it was obvious that, you know, she had feelings for Andrew and that it was mutual. Well, I know it was mutual because he told me. But it was like a thing, right? And I didn't know this at the time, like I mentioned, but, you know, that was a thing. Well, Apple, right? He basically tells Andrew, oh yeah, you know, if you keep this up, you guys are gonna have a threesome. Like, he said something along those lines. He essentially tells him that me, Andrew, and Alex are all going to have a threesome if he keeps on helping me get out of this relationship. Who says that? Like, genuinely, who says that? That is freak behavior. That is freakish. To ever even imply something like that, that is weird. So whatever though, right? It was just weird. Okay, so, and then, Andrew had started at lunch. He used to go with his D&D group to play D&D with them, but he had started to stick with me, to, like, I guess keep me safe and, like, make sure Alex doesn't hurt me, which actually was kind of beneficial in some ways, because it was just, I don't know, it was just nice to have him there, because he definitely helped just me feel, like, a lot better. Well, then, so, right, so, like, but they had, like, started to kind of get, like, weirded out by this, like, oh, where are you? Where are you? And he was like, oh, I'm here. And they'd be like, bring Kai over. And he was like, you know that, like, we're not dating. Like, she's dating Alex. It's just that I'm trying to help her out. And they were like, yeah, but just, like, oh, my goodness. And they get, like, really weird about it. So, whatever, right? But, anyways, gonna move on from that. But, essentially, me and Andrew kind of just were very much on this pace of, like, he was keeping me safe and trying to keep me safe the best he can. And that friend group was weird about it, but he still stuck by me regardless. And so that was a thing, blah, 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 right? Okay, so then now moving on to June 2022, I cut things off with Andrew and basically tell him, like, to essentially stop helping me because I want to focus on me and Alex's relationship, because Alex had broken up with me. And I started to kind of freak out and be like, maybe I do need him. And I wanted to not be with him, but I didn't want to have to go through the process of, like, oh, breaking up and having to, like, go to the same school as my ex and then, like, having a lot of stuff happen. So I basically was just like, hey, Andrew, I'm kind of just going to be done with this. Like, I'm done with this. And yeah. Well, at this time, him and Banana started to get really close again. And and he started kind of focus his time onto her, and he started to kind of just, like, be like, yeah, like, I'm gonna ask her out. And he decides he's gonna ask her out. He doesn't know when yet, but he just is like, I'm gonna ask her out, I'm gonna go for it, I'm gonna ask Banana out, and blah blah. But then it's like the end of June, complete end of June, and I start to kind of, like, realize, like, me and Alex aren't gonna work. And I'm like, this was kind of like on me, like I'm saying this, me and Andrew have both, there's like a disclaimer, I guess, me and Andrew have both taken full accountability for, like, the part we did and being, like, very just, like, toxic for each other during this time. So if we sound toxic, we definitely were. It changes, just bear with me. But at this time, we definitely were very toxic for each other and just not very good for each other. But I guess it worked. I don't know. It worked out in the end. So, but anyways, so he's gonna ask her out. I do not know this though. Like I said, I do not even know he had a crush on Banana. And so I end up starting to flirt with him again. I'm like, hey, like, what if we, like, kind of started having a thing again? And, you know, I'm kind of done with Alex and this and that. And he was like, okay. So we start to kind of have, like, a thing again, but he does know I'm, like, still, like, actively, like, flirting with Alex and stuff, and he's just like, he's okay with it. He's like, whatever. So, yeah. And so basically, now his crush on Banana died. And it did not come back. That was like the end of just his crush on Banana. So, right, okay, so then July happens, and in July, like really beginning of July, I find out that Alex is going to a different school. And since he is, I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'm just not gonna try with him because I know it's not gonna work anyways. And now the breakup process will be easier if he's gone and not here, you know? So I decide, okay, I'm done with Alex, and I'm going to try and make things work with me and Andrew, because Andrew's a really nice guy and I really want to make things work. So we go on our first date on July 7th of 2022, and we have so much fun on this date. I meet his mom for the first time, and it was the scariest thing of my effing life. Okay, I have had to meet parents, but like it was always just like different, I guess. I don't know what was different about it. It just felt different, and it was like weird. But yeah, so on this date we have so much fun. Like, genuinely, we got these little like ice creams. They're called Mexican ice creams. I don't know what the name for it is. That's what they were called. So they were kind of just like ices in a way. They're really good though. Like, I think of those all the time. And during this time, we just have a lot of fun. And like, I really just realized that night, I'm like, I really want to be with Andrew. Okay, well, let's fast forward a bit. This date started at 7 because they were like actual like concerts at the park, and they basically were like cover bands doing concerts and stuff. And so basically, earlier in the day, I'll get a question from my cousin, and she asks me, hey, and she's kind of like, I guess, like, she attempts to be our wingman at multiple points, and it just doesn't work. But she essentially asked me, hey, like, are you ready to date Andrew? And I'm like, no, I'm not ready for a relationship yet. I like him, and I will be, I essentially like tell her, like, yeah, I will be eventually, but I just got out of a relationship with Alex, and I really want to make me and Andrew work, blah, blah, blah. I say something along those lines. And she's like, okay. But she tells Andrew, you know, she's not ready, but like, you should still ask her out. So Andrew's like, no, I'm not going to ask her out. But she's like, no, but you should. And she basically encourages him to do it, even though he's kind of like on the fence about it. But he goes through with it, and he asked me out that night. And I say no. I actually did not technically say no. It was like this. He was like, do you want to be my girlfriend? And I was like, I need to pee. And he was like, what? And I was like, I need to pee. And it was really awkward. It was so awkward. We always joke about that, because I was like, it's funny now, but in the moment it wasn't. Okay? And so I kind of get upset at him like later, like, and I'm like, why would you ask me out if you knew? Because he also knew, like, yeah. And I was like, why would you ask me out? And I didn't know at the time that my cousin encouraged him, but now I know. Blame is on both of them, honestly. So then, let's see. I need to hurry this up because I'm already like low-key like almost done my makeup. Okay, so basically we had our first date there. We also had our first kiss that night, and it was very nice. It was like such a good kiss. I remember like we had like a long kiss, and he literally almost fell to the floor because how flustered he was. It was like the cutest moment ever, honestly. But yeah. Okay, so then during this time, I also go on with him on a date to the movie theaters with his aunt and him and his mom. So I meet his aunt too, and his other sister I met both of his sisters, which there's Gabby and Rebecca, which nothing to say about them. They just exist. And so yeah, and so I meet them both, and I actually don't remember if I think they both went. But let's go back to Apple for a second. Apple in this process is still texting Andrew, and he basically tells him, you guys are moving too slow. Like, you guys aren't even dating yet. Like, why aren't you guys dating yet? Like, you guys are basically a couple just without the label. You guys need to start dating soon. He was like, and Andrew's kind of like, because we're taking things like at our own pace. And this is just not good enough for, Apple, because that's just kind of like what he's gonna stick with. But then he changes it to say, you guys are moving too fast. You guys have already done all these things, and you guys aren't even a couple. So it's like, which is it? Are we moving too quick? Are we moving too slow? And it was very weird. You kind of just tell he was like trying to like psych Andrew out, because how do you like say we're moving too quick and then we're moving too slow? Like, make one up, okay? But yeah. Okay, so we almost start dating at the beginning of August, but we don't because I get scared. And I'm like, I start psyching myself out. But so we don't end up dating. But then, August 23rd is the day I asked him out because I was having a hard day. And we always talk about this because we hate the way we start dating because it's so unromantic. I had a hard day and I just was like, I want to date Andrew. So I just go up to him and I'm like, what if we like start dating? He's like, right now? And I was like, yeah. He was like, okay. And I was like, okay, so we're dating. He's like, okay. And that was literally it. And we did not talk the rest of the way to my class. It was so weird. I don't know. It was a weird time for me, okay? But it was romantic in our own little Andrew Kai way, alright? So, yeah, but there's that. And we ended up starting to become public after this and like be more open with our relationship and stuff and just basically let people know that we're a couple, you know? But then, so Red, if you remember from the last one, and I believe I briefly mentioned her this time, she comes into play as well because she is a freak and she would hang out with me and Andrew and she would start to she knew Andrew's my boyfriend and she would start to bring up me and Alex's sexual past because, you know, we were a teenage couple, we did things. And I would tell her about it. And she started to be like, remember this one time with Alex where this happened? Oh, remember this one time with Alex where that happened? And it was obvious she was like trying to start a fight between me and Andrew. But Andrew's not an angry man. Andrew is the most least angry man I've ever met. Like, he is not angry. I've never seen him mad, ever. Okay, like once or twice maybe. Like, I don't ever see him mad is the point. And so he didn't get mad. He was just like, ew, like, that's weird. But he was kind of like, and he already knew, like, that me and Alex had a past, like, sexually. So, because I'm very open about my past. I have nothing to hide. I'll be open about, like, my sexual past and, like, stuff like that. Like, I don't care. It's something I can hide or that I really care to hide. But, so he already knew, but, like, it was still just weird because it's like, why are you bringing that up? And then also during the time, Red had gotten a boyfriend. I'm not going to name drop at all. I'm just going to say her boyfriend. And basically, she would just, like, bring him over to us and she would just stare at us with him. Like, he wouldn't, like, stare because he was a baddie. But she would just stare at us. Like, while we'd be playing, like, on my DS. And she would just be like, I'm like, okay, whoa, you gotta chill the F out. So then D&D club had started. And the D&D group had decided to move, like, the group itself, like, the lunch groups. They decided to move those to Friday mornings. And I had very, very severe anxiety because I was an addict. So my anxiety was, like, through the roof. And I definitely just kind of felt weird with them being around because they would not talk to me. And, like, I wouldn't talk to them either. But, like, the thing about them is that they are very talkative. Like, they are very, like, in my opinion, from what I've seen, very open to, like, new people. And, like, very much just, I don't know, good with people. And I'm not. But they still just did not really seem to, like, accept me into, like, their little friend group. That's just how it seemed to me. Because they never talked to me. Or, like, even said hi or even, like, made an effort. They just completely ignored me. Like I said, I ignored them too, so maybe it's on me too, but it essentially ended up getting canceled because Andrew was kind of getting, like, annoyed by them that they were ignoring me. Like, he would, like, tell me it kind of bothered him and stuff. And then also just because I was having a lot of mental issues and a lot of mental health issues, so we thought it'd be best if he canceled it. And so he did. And it was for the best, definitely, because, yeah. But yeah, so then, like I said, D&D club starts, and the first club day, Banana, she's talking to Andrew, and she's talking to him, and she grabs his shoulder and touches it. She's like, oh, hey, Andrew. That's what she says. Okay, I'm exaggerating the hey, Andrew thing, but she did put her hand on his shoulder and started talking to him. At the time, he was kind of like, okay, and I was like, this bitch is touching my man's shoulder, and I was really upset. I was like, there's no way that she's doing that, and it really upset me because, like, I didn't want to say anything to Andrew, and I didn't want to cause the thing, because I was so used to, like, Alex. It was, like, the beginning of our relationship, so I was so used to Alex, like, getting mad whenever I get jealous, that I was like, let me just compose myself. Anyways, though. She also just ignores me the whole time, does not talk to me. She also pretends to not know my name, even though she had addressed me by my name between texts between her and Andrew. Like, she never once was like, oh, what's her name again? No, it was always like, Kai. But this time she was like, oh, Andrew, what's her name again? I don't remember her name. Like, in front of me, even though she could have asked me. Anyways. And then, like I said, she doesn't address Andrew. And we had a 4th period, right? Okay, hold on. Okay, so we had a 4th period, okay? And we would see her after 4th period all the time. And so this time, like, we would see her all the time after 4th period, and she would always, like, at the beginning of the school year, she'd always wave at Andrew. But then she kind of stopped. She stopped waving at Andrew, and it would only be Andrew. She'd be like, hi, Andrew, or Andrew. And I would always be like, okay. And I just wouldn't say anything, obviously. But she eventually stopped doing that. Like, she stopped saying hi to him at all. I thought that was kind of weird, like, that she just kind of randomly stopped saying hi to him, but whatever. I assumed it had something to do with me. Well, then one day I go home early, like 2nd or 3rd period, because I was just not feeling it. I was feeling really sick. And basically she goes, or like, she's walking, and like I mentioned, she had not said hi to him in like a hot minute. Like, it had been a while since she had said hi to him. And she sees him alone, and she's like, hi, Andrew. So she only says hi to him when I'm not there. And that happened multiple times after this, so it wasn't just like an isolated incident. Every single time I wasn't there, it'd be, hi, Andrew. And when I wasn't there, it would be silence. So it was definitely intentional. But yeah. So, anyways. So, this banana incident ended up coming to an end overall that December. Because in December of 2022, she basically came over to him randomly, was like, hey, and then, like, gave him, like, a gift, and then, like, ran off. Like, was like, it was so quick. Like, didn't address me, only addressed Andrew, ran up to him, gave him the gift, and ran off. So I'm like, okay, weird. And Andrew shows me what the gift is, and it is D&D dice, and they are really cute, actually. But it says, oh, every great dungeon master needs their lucky ducky dice. And I was like, bitch. Like, that was weird. And so I was like, okay, weird behavior, right? But whatever. And so I'm like, okay. And then he's like, do you want these dice? I was like, oh, yeah. Because they're actually really cute dice. I still have them. Throughout this time, we also just, like, met each other's family and just was very much, like, involved in each other's, like, life. And I actually had a lot of fun meeting his family. I met them, I ended up meeting, like, all, like, his aunts, I already knew his sisters. I met his stepdad. I met just a lot of his family. And they were just such great people. Most of them. Not all of them, but, like, besides his mom and his stepdad. Well, okay, his mom was really nice to me, but she's not nice to him. But I don't want to get into his business. But all of his family is just, like, very, like nice to me, and they really just, like, treat me well. And that's all I could ask for, because my past 2 exes had really shitty moms, and they treated me really bad. So it felt really good to finally have, like, a boyfriend who had a good family, who actually liked me, okay? So there's that. Well then, me and Red had stopped being friends, alright? Like, a while back. And the reason why is, honestly, I can make a whole video on her where I just talk about her. So I'm not even gonna get into that reason, but just know she essentially made up a lie about me because she lied about stuff, and someone reported her for a very heavy lie she made, and she thought it was me. I don't know why. She just did, and basically told everyone, like, oh yeah, Kai did this, and I was like, okay, that's really freakish, you know. And actually, this won't really be too relevant in this, but she actually tried to lie. She became friends with Andrew's freshman sister in our senior year, and she ended up telling her, Kai is horrible. Like, Kai did all these things. I'm like, do you think that Andrew's sister is not going to tell me? Like, do you think Andrew's sister, who I know and who likes me, is not gonna tell me, and is not gonna be like, hey Kai, listen to what Red said. Like, you're freakish. You lack common sense if that's the case. But anyways, that's a whole other thing. Anyways, though, so Red had made her Instagram note one day. Oh, didn't you cheat on your ex with your new boyfriend? And I was like, I know this is about me, because this bitch is obsessed with me. This bitch is obsessed with me. So I knew it was about me. And I knew that Alex had given her misinformation, if that's the case. Or like something like that, because he definitely knew. Because I ended up texting him and like and admitting to him, like, yeah, like I emotionally cheated on you with Andrew because you were abusive and I did not want to be with you and you would not let me leave the relationship. So, you know, whatever though. But, you know, basically, she had made her note that, and she was still in communication with my abusive ex. And she had made her Instagram note that, and I ended up making my Instagram note like, yeah, I did, and what about it? And this is my thing. If your Instagram note was not directed at someone, you would not look at their response and see it as like a direct response to you, if that makes sense. So she slides up on my thing. She's like, oh, who's this about? We hadn't talked in a while, so she knew it was about her. And I was like, no one. And she was like, yeah, well, my note is about, she instantly started getting defensive. I didn't even say anything. And she was like, well, my note is about, you know, this girl I used to know, and she cheated on her ex with like a Discord mod looking guy. She used to always be like, Discord mods. Oh, you're dating a Discord mod. Oh, Discord mod this. And she's dating a guy now that looks like one, which no hate to him, because from what I know from him, he's a really nice guy. Okay. But it's just kind of funny how she would make fun of me for dating for personality, and then she dated a guy who's not conventionally attractive. Like, I don't hate on looks ever, unless you're a fart and a bitch. But she hated on looks all the time. She would hate on me for dating for personality. It was a whole thing. I wouldn't get into that because that's a whole other topic for another video. Anyways, though, we got like I thought it was kind of funny, so I was like, okay, so Alex is still spreading stuff about me and Andrew that is false, but it's whatever. So blah blah blah. Anyways, and she would also give Alex life updates on me. So there's that. And then, right, so like I had already mentioned that I did end up texting Alex, and he just didn't care. February, I met Andrew's dad and his brother, and that was really scary. But it's really nice, because they were really nice to me, and it was really nice, and it was really fun. He met my cousins. We went on a lot of dates during this time, a lot, and we just got really close, like extremely close, inseparable. And then our 1 year happens, and our senior year also begins. And it was such a fun time, honestly, like, it was great. So, yeah. I'm gonna kind of skip some of this, because it's something that's like, meh. We both auditioned for Alice in Wonderland play, and we both get in. That's so fun. Then there's other girl who's being really weird with Andrew. I ended up unfollowing her on Instagram, because I used to follow her on Instagram, and then I kind of, like, realized, like, I just don't like to, because, like, I know that she literally harassed Andrew. And, yeah. And she was also is that too much? I was going to say something, but I was like, that's kind of too much. But I'll say this. She had the same class as Andrew. And also cheated on her boyfriend and claimed that she didn't. But she did, because she said some really creepy shit to Andrew. Like, really creepy shit. That's just not okay. Sexual harassment type of shit. But, whatever. Anyways. So, okay, so this is, like, gonna reach the end, finally. Oh my god. So we ended up, like, so I ended up helping him move out recently, actually, and that was such, like, a big thing, honestly, because, you know, helping him move out is, like, really big, and I helped him move out with his dad, and his dad had, like, said, like, oh, if you ever want Kai to move in with us, you can, and I'm 18, so I'm like, maybe. I've definitely considered it quite a bit. The only thing that's stopping me is that I am getting a job, which I'll get into in my next video, because my next video is my life updates, so stay tuned. But I end up getting a job out here, and as well as I'm currently attending Chafee, so it's like I want to, like, at least get, like, my life going out here and then see how things go. Me and my dad do have, like, a lot of, like, problems, so I kind of, like, already, like, decided, like, if there is ever a situation where I need to move out because of, like, the way my dad is being, I will not hesitate, you know, but definitely just going to kind of just focus on trying to stay here. But Andrew's so far, so it's really hard sometimes. He's like, it's not that far, he's 30 minutes away, but it definitely gets a little bit sad when it's like he used to be like 5 minutes away, and like I could like go over to his house like whenever, and if I wanted to go to his house, like tomorrow I could. And just like stuff like that, you know? It definitely is hard, but I'm okay with it because I know that he likes it a lot better over there. But he does miss me, and he makes that very clear. So I miss him a lot. Anyways, that is the end of me and Andrew's love story. We are very happy now, okay? All the toxic stuff at the beginning has been left behind. We are very happy, and I've never felt this way about anyone, and I won't get into a whole corny thing, so I could literally cry about him. I've cried about him so many times, it's kind of crazy, but he makes me very happy, and he treats me amazing. Like, I am so lucky to have him in my life. Like, genuinely, I'm extremely lucky. I don't know how I found that kind of breed of man. It's not easy to find a good man, okay? But I found a good man, and I'm really lucky to have him, especially after my horrible relationships that I've had in the past 3 years, 4 years, 4 years. No, well, technically we started dating like 3 years before him. I had really bad relationships, and I'm so lucky to be able to be with him. And our 2 year is coming up in August. A month. Technically, it's a month and a half, but it's fine. We don't think about that. And it's just really exciting. Oh my god, my bangs. It's really exciting. We're gonna go to Disneyland. It'll be our second time going together, and yeah. So that's kind of that. I am very lucky to be with him, and I'm very lucky to be able to be with him. I don't know. I could go on a whole thing about him, so I'm not gonna. But I love Andrew. And Andrew, if you're watching this, which you are, I know you are, I love you so much. And you're the best boyfriend in the world. And I have a really good boyfriend. And get yourself a man who treats you right. Because I'm going to say this, after a bad relationship, an aggressive bad relationship, having a sensitive man who will cry over me in like a good way and who will love and take care of me is like the best thing ever. Okay? So get you a boyfriend who loves you. Alright? Know your worth. You guys are worth so much. Alright guys, so that's the end of my video and my story time. I hope you guys enjoyed, because I definitely enjoyed talking about my relationship and yapping. So anyways, and stay tuned for my next video. I don't know what's going to be, but my next video is going to contain me talking about my life updates and what's going to be happening soon. So